We look at a map of the world and assume the ground beneath our feet is a permanent, unbroken sphere. It feels like absolute bedrock. But the crust of the Earth is actually fractured, shattered into a dozen massive, rigid fragments called tectonic plates. These colossal slabs of rock aren't anchored to anything. They are actively floating, gliding over a deeper, hotter layer of subterranean rock that bends and yields to pressure. The solid ground you stand on is essentially a temporary raft. And to understand what possesses the raw power to push entire continents across the globe, we have to look downward. If you slice the planet open, you move past the thin crust we live on, through the thick rocky mantle, all the way down to a superheated core. That core is desperately trying to vent its heat. As intense thermal energy rises from the center, it heats the solid rock of the mantle above it, causing it to rise. As that rock nears the crust, it cools and sinks back down. This continuous physical circulation is called mantle convection. It seems counterintuitive, but under millions of pounds of pressure and thousands of degrees of heat, solid rock doesn't shatter. It becomes ductile. It flows and churns like thick plastic. As these massive subterranean convection loops scrape against the underside of the crust, they generate immense friction. The flowing rock physically grips the tectonic plates and drags them along for the ride. The entire planet operates as a literal mechanical heat engine. The core's need to shed thermal energy is the invisible force powering every millimeter of surface movement. When we follow that mechanical force back up to the surface, we can track the exact fault lines where the crust is being torn in two. Deep underwater, tectonic plates separate at a divergent boundary, creating a mid-ocean ridge. Dropping pressure allows superheated magma to bleed into the central gap. Freezing water cools it, forging brand new rock. This ceaseless upwelling pushes older rock outward, like a geological conveyor belt. This creates a physical paradox. If miles of new land are constantly being generated, the Earth itself should be ballooning in size. Since the planet maintains a static volume, an equal amount of crust must be violently destroyed somewhere else. To find where that old crust goes to die, we have to look at the opposite ends of the conveyor belt, where heavy ocean basins slam directly into continental landmasses. Because oceanic crust is incredibly dense, it loses the collision. It's forced to dive underneath the lighter, thicker continental plate in a process called subduction. This is a brutal environment. As the oceanic slab is shoved deep into the mantle, it faces extreme friction and searing heat, causing the rock to melt and fracture. That destruction has immediate consequences on the surface. The melting rock builds immense pressure, punching jagged plumes of magma upward. This fuels explosive volcanic chains and triggers severe earthquakes. This violent destruction is the necessary counterweight to the creation happening at the mid-ocean ridges. It is a perfectly balanced recycling system, keeping the planet's size exactly the same. If you pull back to view the entire globe and accelerate time by millions of years, you can watch this conveyor belt dictate the shape of the world. The drifting plates follow a 300 million-year supercontinent cycle. Scattered landmasses crash together into a single block of land. This massive sheet acts as a thermal blanket, trapping mantle heat. Pressure builds until it physically shatters the supercontinent, pushing fragments outward to start the cycle again. The arrangement of oceans and continents is never a permanent destination. Geography is an illusion, a temporary phase in an endless thermodynamic loop. Human history is incredibly brief. We live in centuries rather than eons. So extreme geological violence appears as absolute stillness. That modern map of the world we rely on is nothing more than a microscopic, temporary snapshot of shattered fragments caught mid-transit. The Earth is a restless, churning machine. Given enough time, this subterranean engine will inevitably erase and redraw every coastline we've ever known.